Okay, hopefully this is now working. And I know Christopher is messaging me. I appreciate it, Christopher. If you can say something on the YouTube page right now, go ahead. Type something there if you would, so that I know that this is working. Otherwise, I need to. That chat is working. Dennis, thank you very much. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the Facebook Live, but it's not working, so we're going to have to go with YouTube today. So, town hall meeting, uh, really intended to be a chance to answer your questions, read your comments, get your thoughts, and go from there. So thanks everybody that's telling me it's working now. I appreciate it. I don't know why the Facebook is not working. Apparently Facebook has, gee, imagine this, Facebook has changed their settings once again. And it's, there was something on there about encoding and TSLs, and I have no idea what it was talking about, and I don't have time to mess with it. So we'll just move on. I'm here in the Capitol and just wanted to spend just a few minutes with you. If you had things that were concerning you or questions that you had, just jump right onto the chat and fire those questions or comments at me, and I'll be glad to answer them. I want you to know that the strategy of the majority party at this time right now on cap and trade is twofold. This, we've all been hearing about Senate Bill 1530. There is a House bill, can't remember the number right now off the top of my head. I believe it's 4159. And we originally were told that the Senate bill was going to be the one that was going to move, the cap and trade bill from the Senate, and that it was going to be the one that was going to move, and that was where everything was going to be. Since Timber Unity's rally last Thursday, I think the strategy changed a little bit, and then the House bill that was kind of being held down here in reserve just out of nowhere came out today, and it moved. Now, I believe it went to Rules Committee, which Rules is the only committee that goes all the way to the end of session. The Senate bill is, if it hasn't moved yet, they were still debating it just a little while ago with that 177-page amendment that came out last night at 6 o'clock. So I have to tell you, I'm not totally up on all of the cap and trade information, the bills, because frankly, I'm in other committees and I'm working on other things. But I will tell you that it's two pronged now. They're going this way. What does that mean? I don't know exactly what that means. I just know that things are going to start getting a little crazy around here, probably very quickly. I want to tell you a couple of things, and that is this. You know, I don't think I've ever, and I might have posted about this earlier, I don't think I've ever made a statement like climate change is not for real or anything like that. I believe that there is climate change. What I have a hard time with is Oregon's, as it was said in testimony last year when it was House Bill 2020, Oregon's contribution to climate change is literally, quote unquote, imperceptible. And even that, I don't want to stop there. Let's say it is imperceptible, yet we must do something. The question to ask you is this: how much are you willing to pay? Because in testimony, and you can go to Senate Bill 1530 and you can read this testimony or watch the videos of previous hearings, it literally was said uh, within reason what it would cost, what it would cost you and me, individuals and families. So the cap and trade legislation, if it were passed as it is now, would cost the average Oregonian household anywhere from $5 to $7 to even $1,000, 500 to 700 to $1,000 per year in increased costs. For instance, gasoline, diesel, any fuel, electricity, natural gas. And what I find fascinating is about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was in my first session, there was a bill to start limiting, if not completely eliminating, wood stoves, burning wood. And that's still being worked on. And the idea was to get us to shift to natural gas because it was cleaner. Yet with cap and trade, natural gas will virtually go away because of the cost. So my question that I ask people is, how are we going to heat grandma's home? And I don't mean that facetiously. I mean that dead seriously. How do we heat grandma's home? If I can't afford natural gas or it's not available and I can't burn wood, a wood stove, fireplace, what's left? Well, electricity. Okay, well, let's hold on for a minute because electricity costs are going to go up too, as much as $500 to $600 to $700 to $1,000 per year. Let's also talk about then what's that mean for transportation along with heating and cooling. How about the production of food and household goods? How about this, to throw this out at you? If this bill passes, unelected bureaucrats, that's people who work in these buildings all around here. And they're not bad people. I'm not knocking them. So if you're one of them, don't I'm not knocking you. But bureaucrats, meaning state agency persons who are not elected, they're hired by somebody. They would be making the decisions on which businesses are clean energy or not. And they will actually determine the costs on businesses and you and I, individual consumers, without a vote from either you, the citizens, or from we, the legislators. And I think that should really concern you. I think that, because even if you're sitting here right now and you're saying, but Bill, we have to do something. The question is, how much are you willing to pay? What are you willing to pay? So let me answer some of your questions. Christopher says this cap and trade is a bunch of crap, just like the gun laws that these Democrats are trying to pass. These Democrats are getting out of control. It is. And to whoever Cat 2755 is, retired people can't afford that. Absolutely. This is really going to hurt retired people, veterans, and those on lower incomes. How in the world? Well, we built into the bill, the allowances for poor people to get. No, that's not going to work. Blue collar workers can't afford it. Yeah, that's exactly right. Cap and trade is nothing more than a money grab. It's more of a war on the poor. It really is. And I'm glad you're catching on to that. Some of you that are watching right now, you're catching on to it is a war on the poor. Let's see. What else was I going to talk to you about? Short session. A lot of talk from a lot of people, and I think correctly so, in talking about this is not what short session was meant to be. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to go against the grain a little bit on Republican talking points. A lot of people say over and over and over, when we passed that ballot measure back in 2010 that made annual sessions, they said it was only to be about budgets and tweaking bills and doing minor fixes. Well, I have to tell you, in all honesty, I have really researched this. And for those of you who weren't listeners to my radio show back in the day, back in 10 years ago, in 2010, when I was on the air and that ballot measure was up, I was very, very involved in it. Even though I wasn't here in the Capitol, I was on the air. I was very involved. And I've gone back and looked at the testimony and the video presentations. And more importantly, I've looked at the voter pamphlet from 2010 and I've looked at the ballot measure itself. Nobody really talked about what the session was supposed to be. And I know that that's not what people want to hear, but the ballot measure was very clear. It said, I'm paraphrasing, yes or no. Would you like annual sessions? The long session being this many days, the short session being this many days. It didn't say in the ballot measure, and it would be only for budgets and it would only be for policy, or there would be no policy bills, it'd just be fixes. It didn't say that. So it was a very misleading ballot measure in 2010. And 62% of Oregonians, I think it was 62% of Oregonians voted yes on it, because I believe they thought that if you would go back to the early 2000s, there were sessions that went clear into September and October. And nobody wanted that to happen again. And so I think a lot of people were misled by the ballot title and said, oh, great, they're only going to be there this long and this long. That's good. And there really was no talk and no mention of what the short session actually was to be. It was just annual sessions. Yes or no? Do you want annual sessions? So it's really hard to say we shouldn't be doing this during short session from that standpoint of, well, the voters didn't intend for this. That's not exactly true. Now, what you can say very clearly and very easily is this is not good for short session because there's no time. So forget for a moment voter intention, though I'm not forgetting voter intention. I'm just saying, if you understand what I'm saying, the ballot measure didn't say anything about that. But the shortness of time, the fact that last Monday bills were introduced in the House and in the Senate, and by that Friday they had to be scheduled for a work session. Work session means in the committee voting on it. And then today is the deadline for work sessions in either chamber for that chamber. How do you have time? How do you have time? And 1 hour hearings and 177 page amendments dropping 15 hours before it's going to be heard in committee. Who reads 177 pages in 15 hours when it was 7 o'clock last night? That's what I'm talking about when I say there's too much going on in short session. It's the time. So that's just a little something I wanted to say about that. So I think as you're talking to friends and neighbors and family, and you're saying, why are they passing all this stuff? Or why are they doing this during short session? That's a good question to ask. But the point to make is there's not enough time. There's not enough time. It's not humanly possible. There were about 265 bills introduced for short session. And if you do the math, based on how many hours are in a day in 35 days, you have 1 hour for each bill. 1 hour. You have 1 hour to hear, pass, and move from chamber to 1 hour. And of course, that's impossible. It's not going to happen. And don't forget, unlimited amounts of bills from the Speaker of the House and the Senate President. The governor has 5 bills. There's all kinds of other ways that bills can be introduced. Let me answer Jane's question. I personally believe there is no perfect answer to this issue. What needs to be viewed is what is appropriate considering the majority. We cannot make us regulated to accommodate the world. Okay, it's a good point. Okay, I didn't want to just do all the talking. I wanted to hear from you, but I wanted to do both Facebook and YouTube. The Facebook's not working, so I apologize for that. I'll try to get that rectified for the next time. But I have to go off to another meeting tonight, and I'm going to do that now. And so I'm going to shut this down. But thank you for your patience in waiting for what was really kind of a boring video. Sorry. I'll try to be better next time. But I just wanted you to know a little bit of just a little bit of what's going on here. If you look behind me, I don't know how well you can see that. Those are the bills that I am chief sponsor of or co-sponsor of. And I'll just say this. For the gun bills that are talking about coming out of here and for cap and trade, I will sacrifice those bills any day. No problem. Doesn't hurt my feeling whatsoever for those bills to die if that means we don't pass cap and trade or these really bad gun bills. So just know that I'm always that way. And as far as senators or House members walking out or denying quorum or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. But again, thank you for coming in and spending a little time with me here in my office via YouTube. Again, if you're a Facebook person, I'll try to get that fixed for the next time. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying thank you very much. And you're very patient. You're very kind. And feel free to email me or get on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Bill Post for Oregon, or just search for Bill Post in the search box. Remember, the page that's my friend's page is not where I do anything. I do it all over on my page, which is Bill Post for Oregon. That's where I post the stuff that is important. Okay, so go there and feel free to leave your comments and whatnot. All right, well, thank you all and have a great evening and a great weekend.